Hi, my name is Rachel McLeod. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And today we're going to be talking about the thing. Oh gosh, everything just changed on my Facebook book screen just like that. I have plans for today, and now I don't know if I'll be able to access them. I will. I want to show you my screen. We're going to do this today. And we're going to be talking about what your therapist cannot do for you as well or quickly as you can do for yourself, and and how this can help you get really fast results and help you move your whole disorder into remission in 2 to 6 months as opposed to 2 to 6 years. This layer of work that I'm going to be talking about is really simple to do, much more simple than people think, and but it takes one of the greatest investments of time. And that's something that if you're doing the work of this layer that we're going to talk about today, that's a layer of work you don't have to do in your office with your therapist. She can actually do, or he can do, or they can do the more skillful work with you that needs to be done, because you're taking care of this other piece that is foundational and that requires the greatest investment of time. And so this is a place where I really divide labor with my clients, and so I spend a lot of time. I don't actually. This doesn't take a lot of time to train. But I invest the time in upfront to train my clients to work on this layer, because if they can do this work, which they can, and it strengthens them, it's healing, and it's also they're learning how to drive their own system, and they're learning how to navigate their world from the inside out. There's so many benefits from learning how to do this layer of work. I could go on and on, which I will in this video. And and it's really, really empowering because it also repairs the self-trust. It also sits you in a place of self-leadership, internal, on your internal seat of leading your own inner world. And if you've got an anxiety, depression, or trauma disorder, that is something that is not is broken, right? It feels like your mind is hijacked by some other force, and it is trauma usually, and your survival system is hijacking you and making you do these things: avoiding, fighting, fleeing, fainting, fawning all over people, behaving in ways that you're like, this is not even how I do things. And so to really get this place back and to really do this layer of work, and then is so empowering on so many levels. But it also is one of the fastest ways to resolve your disorder, period. If this work doesn't get done, this is what drags this out. This is what drags out the healing process from resolving the whole disorder. Okay. And so this is why I spend time with this up front, because I know this is going to be the battle we're fighting the entire time. But if my clients get good at this, which you don't even have to be good at this when you first begin, because any bit that you do creates an opening for the next layer. And so you can start with very minimal skills. You can be sloppy and messy and not good at all, which is great, um, but still do powerful work, a powerful layer of work. And it's enough. It's enough. And so, and then as you build your skill set in this area, it just, you get more skill in it. And then you get better and better, and you keep opening up, and you're just doing all this healing work. Okay. So I'm going to introduce it now, I think. And we'll see if I can share my screen, because that's really how I want to introduce this. But this work is the most fundamental work, and it's the work of reconditioning your nervous system. And so I have another video about trauma. It says recovering from trauma and how to feel safe for the first time, or for the first again, or for the first time. And it's all about regulating your nervous system. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long, or an hour and a half. It's a mega training. And if you go and watch that, you're going to find that you're going to get it. And you're going to see what this layer of work, why it's so important. And but this one is about the practicals of this, and it's taking the training deeper, and so that you can really get this, and also so that you can try it. This is a place where you could really jump off and transform your inner world. Very basically, if you don't do any other work, you will heal. if you only do this foundational work. It'll take longer, right? That's why I'm going to show you this image that I created, and I actually created it, so that's fun, because I've been over here drawing you pictures. Another thing I want to say is that before I dive off and get started here is that I'm recovering from COVID, and you're going to see me. I'm going to cough. I'm going to do all the things, but I'm out of quarantine. I'm recovering well, but whoo, that was a doozy. So it may be slower, or we'll see what we got going on. But I just want to warn you, if I start coughing it up over here, I'm good. Okay, so, and I'm gonna have some water because it is water time. All right, so let's see if I can find my share my screen tab that was just here a second ago. Graphics. Can I show some graphics? Nope. Okay. So the other thing I did do, because I wanted to outsmart myself or troubleshoot the situation, is I printed it out so I can hold it up. It's not as cool as it was if I was going to share my screen, but I will deal. Okay. Tech goddess fail or challenges. Anyway, here we go. Okay, now I'm going to hold this up for you, and I want you to notice the copyright thing under here. So you can take pictures of this. You can do what this want, but I have reserved all rights to this because I'm not certain it's perfected yet from my standard. I'm still playing with this, but it's a really great communication tool now. So I don't want this out there, but I think it's a good teaching tool. And as I progress with this, or be like, yes, this is it, I will make this shareable. I will make this something that you have access to. And you will see this in one of my upcoming webinars, because I am trying to figure out a way to pack all of this knowledge into 45-minute training. Okay. So here it is. This is the graphic. This is how I look at how your mental health is expressing itself in each now. Right there, you in each now. In each now, this is the point. That one little dot right there is now. Okay, it's also now and now and now, right? In each of these nows, underneath this pyramid, we could look at this like an iceberg. We could look at it as a pyramid. We're going to just probably play with both metaphors. But in each now, you have how you're functioning with your people, how you're functioning internally yourself. And then if you come under that, you'll find, I call this root issues. These are the root issues. These are emotions, beliefs, experiences, subconscious programming. These are what fall into my specialty of root issues. In these root issues, I also find things like brainwave stuff that neurofeedback can help with. Vitamin and mineral deficiencies can really make up mental health issues. When I find these types of things, food allergy reactions, when I find these things or I suspect these things, I refer people out, because they are the root of this disorder. And I don't treat those, but they are treatable, right? And then when we get the root out, there's so much healing that takes place. But underneath this, you have your nervous system. And this is the biggest piece of all this expression moving its way up. Okay, and this is where the biggest investment of the work is done. This is it. If your nervous system is not happy, nothing is going to happen. And you can tell how someone's nervous system reaction is going on, how their nervous system is playing out, by their reactions in the now, this now, right? The now when you wake up in the morning, what's going on there? Are you frozen from a nightmare? That's nervous system reactivity, distress, right? Your nervous system's dysregulated. When you're parenting with your child, are you yelling and screaming? If you are, your nervous system is dysregulated. Are you afraid? Are you frozen? When you're in a conflict, are you avoiding it? That's your nervous system. Your nervous system is going off, and that's part of that is the survival system ignites that. It's like we need the nervous system to go into survival mode. We need fight, we need flight, we need faint, we need fawn, we need freeze, right? In every single moment, you can see what's going on with your nervous system. And this is something that your therapist really cannot do with you all day long throughout your day. This is something that if you can see for yourself, every time you notice your nervous system dysregulated, you have an opportunity to intervene and engage your nervous system and regulate it and bring it back into a regulated place. That is a powerful place of intervention. And what we do is many of us, when your nervous system gets dysregulated, it goes up, right? It's like distress, distress, distress. Now, in early childhood, parents come along, they are our regulation system when we're little. And if they're good at regulating us, they'll bring us back down and we'll calm. So our nervous system learns you can come up and you can come down, right? And so it will have this nice pattern in it. It goes up and comes down. Some parents, because this wasn't programmed in for them, when, or they don't, trauma, right? When children get dysregulated, when they start intervening because they're not regulated, they will take it higher, right? And so your nervous system at a young age will learn the pattern of when we go up, we go higher, right? And we don't come back down. We don't know how to do that. That's not, and so parents can really have a powerful moment of intervening here and bringing it back down. But by the time we're adults, you and I, our nervous system has learned to either stay high or we'll do things that make it go higher, like be guilt and shame and horror and inner critic stuff that takes it higher, right? And so we'll have this pattern going on, which we're just escalating in dysregulation, and then there's many things that will happen there. Your body will need to release all that tension somehow, and that looks like crying, fighting, fleeing, um, expending energy, punching walls, anything, cutting, eating, getting a hug. I mean, there's some functional ways to do this, and there's some dysfunctional ways to do this. Things that work, but will cause more harm to your system. And so when that's part of what an anxiety, depression, or trauma disorder is, it's that there's something that triggers and your nervous system starts dysregulating and it can't get back down. It cannot regulate. And so it'll either stay high and then you'll feel jittery and you'll feel all the things, or you feel restless, or you'll feel anxious. You'll feel all the things, and or it'll go higher, right? And then you're locked out and you can't get it back down and you can't find a way to calm yourself. And so you do the things we do. We seek excessive reassurance. We seek something that will turn this thing down and that we can get in back into a regulated state. And we we instinctually know we need that. And we have some really powerful interventions we can use to in moments of dysregulation, engage powerfully the survival system and guide it out back into a regulated place. And but we have to use the survival system's native language. And we typically don't do that. What we typically do is we will use the native language of our prefrontal cortex. That is not our survival system. And so when we know you're doing that, if you start to notice you're dysregulated and you start talking to yourself, that is not the native language of your nervous system. That's not the native language of your survival system. If you start reasoning with yourself, if you start logicking with yourself, if you start telling yourself, hey, we're safe right now, you are not engaging your nervous system in its native language. You're using the native language of the front of your brain. The native language of your survival system and your nervous system is your body. And that's why there's all this hype and talk about somatic experiencing and mind body interventions. And all of that stuff is really, really valid and important. And so um, because the somatic experiencing is witnessing the distress in your nervous system. And that's really powerful. But I would say it is incomplete without an intervention that really speaks and engages your survival system. And that's why this is such an important thing to be able to do. And there's some interventions that you might have been hearing about, like tapping, where you're tapping on different points on your body, different meridian points. This is effective because it's using one of the body's natural communication systems, which is electricity. That's what the body uses to. It's That's the native language of the body is electricity, right? And energy. Um, we we can use medication, but that creates a different effect. It can be helpful. It can be very helpful, but this we're talking about repatterning the nervous system, and I don't find that medication to be helpful with repatterning the survival system and the nervous system. It can be very a support. It really can be a great support, but it doesn't do this specific work. Okay, and so with this we also know that we can grab and engage the survival system with eye movements. So EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or um, there's another one coming out. We're learning all the things eyes do with the brain function. It really it's a way of engaging the survival system, and so those ones are very important. Brain spotting, um, but then energy medicine practices where you can hold points on your body and you're repatterning blood flow in your brain, which is important because during times of nervous system dysregulation, your energy flow in your brain, your electrical flow changes, and it actually and it takes chemicals, blood flow and stuff, right, away from your prefrontal cortex, your thinking center. It kind of shuts it down and it pulls it to the back because the back of your brain, your survival system, becomes the commanding officer of all of your functioning and your thought processes. And so in those moments of survival level distress or nervous system dysregulation, you're under the authority of your survival system, and that part of the brain does not know how to thrive. It only knows how to react and to survive. And so that's we don't want you living your life from that part of your brain. The majority of it, we're not meant to do that. We're meant to live from a whole brain function and with our executive functioning from the front with leadership there and choices. That's where you get choices. You don't have choices in the back of the brain. You have reactions and you don't get to control them. They don't match always with your morals. They frequently don't match your morals. They don't live up to your skill set. They're programmed in early. And so that's why sometimes you'll act infantile and juvenile because that's your nervous system is running things and it's programmed in early childhood and by all the experiences and the traumas that you have. And as long as those experiences are singing and manifesting and flowing through your nervous system, they're going to come out in your life. And we can bring them out through the front of your brain and get some healing going on, or they can keep coming out in survival level distress. And that's not a healing place. It will go up and then it will sink back down and it will come back up and you'll be in a cycle of that for the rest of your life until you get that out of your nervous system. And so, but you can get this out of your nervous system. And it's really in the work of regulating your nervous system. And I want to bring this back. It's the bulk of the work. And it's way simpler than what we think. I have clients I train them in the beginning of our work together. I train them in EFT, emotional freedom techniques, thought-filled therapy, energy medicine, and and I don't teach EMDR right away, but I do start teaching EMDR principles and strategies in the second week. And so they are fully equipped to start using these interventions and to start regulating their nervous system from the very first working session, which is the first one. Okay. And so, and I match them with these interventions to make sure that they actually create effect in their nervous system, because this is my whole specialty. I can train people to listen to this and to hear their nervous system. That's what I do. And then we get to work. And we start right then regulating the nervous system. And that's what we spend our time doing the first week. Because I have them doing this for 2 hours every day, I could have them doing this for 7 hours every day. I could. That's a lot of work. I wouldn't do that to somebody. um, but but if somebody has an anxiety, depression, or trauma disorder, they're experiencing nervous system dysregulation the majority of their day. So 7 hours of dysregulation is probably more accurate than not. But if you're even spending 2 hours dysregulated, then that's a problem. And so and habitually and systematically and daily, that's what that's what disorders are made of. And so when I teach people to be able to find their nervous system dysregulation and intervene and regulate, and intervene and regulate, and intervene and regulate, and intervene and regulate 2 hours a day, that work, every time we do that, we're regulating, but also all that information that was up in the dysregulation, right? Because it's like energy rising. It's like when you intervene, you're grabbing all that up, and you're actually in the regulation process, you're pulling this through your brain's natural healing process, and where it will drop off and end up in your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that can solve this problem. And it sorts it. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for this stuff. And so every time you're dysregulated, there's a whole opportunity to really grab stuff up and bring it to the part of the brain where you can actually create lasting transformation. That's what that part does. And once it's done with that material, it doesn't go back under and remain problematic. It comes up and your brain is like, oh, I know what we're going to do. This, we're going to get rid of that. We're going to hook this up over there. We've been looking for that. This, oh no, we're going to chop that off, throw that out too. We can release that now. Let's keep this. Let's keep that. And it organizes everything. It's like your master organizer up there. It's like, oh, we don't. It's like hiring your declutter coach, right? And they're actually in there doing it for you. All you had to do is bring the box out and set it up front, and they're like, I got this, move out of my way. That's what your prefrontal cortex is like. Our job really is just can we get the box to the front? That's it. And when we find all this dysregulation in the nervous system, if we can right here grab it up and move it through the pathways, use an intervention. So I have my clients start using emotional freedom techniques. It's one of the simplest ones to use. And off they go. They use it for maybe 20, 30 seconds. Maybe they'll use it for 2 minutes. Maybe they'll use it for 5. Maybe they'll sit there and they're like on a roll and keep coming up, and they have skill sets for it, and they'll sit there for 10 minutes. Great. All of a sudden, that work drops it off to the front. And that, in the process of moving all that dysregulation to the front, it's converting emotion from big emotions like terror, um, and fear and shame, and it's converting that into something that the brain can actually use for healing. And so it really takes it, and it takes the pain out, so it desensitizes it because it's changing the form of the emotions. It's still emotions, you're not losing the emotion. It's just changing to a form that your brain can actually use constructively and to create lasting change. We want that. All this emotion cannot stay in this wild form of dysregulation that it is. Your brain cannot do anything with this but stay in a survival state. And so that's what we're doing. We're taking this stuff up, we're engaging the survival system, and we're saying, hey, can we let some healing happen here? So we're engaging it in the way, in its native language, and the survival system responds quickly by moving out of the way and saying, yes, you can move this stuff through the pathways. But without engaging it like that, because we're engaging it in a way where it can receive the message, we're actually safe. We could let the survival mode down, and we're okay. And it can hear that in its native language, and it will calm down, move the survival mode out of the way, and allow healing to happen. As long as you're engaging it, it's kind of distracted and you're kind of picking your survival system up and you're like rocking it like a baby, which is the native language of the nervous system, which is why we rock babies, because we're actually regulating their nervous system. We're wiring their brain and their whole body for function, right? And so when you're using these interventions, that's what you're doing. As far as the nervous system is concerned, you're picking it up and you're rocking with it. And you're like, hey, it's okay. Shh. Let's let some healing happen here. Let's calm down. And as that calming happens, this stuff is moving through the healing pathways. And then healing is happening over there. All of the package that got moved through your prefrontal cortex is often chopping and working and diving and sorting and organizing and decorating. That part of your brain upgrades all your function, right? The nervous system dysregulates. We start regulating. Emotions and beliefs, experience, subconscious programming starts moving through the part of the brain that can actually make change. And that upgrades your function, your ability to be with your children and not scream, your ability to stop shrinking back in conflict, your ability to stop having flashbacks and actually just clean your house, or get out of bed in the morning happy, right? Or go to sleep, right? And it affects you in each now. And so this when we can do this work, it comes through all of these things. Your prefrontal cortex knows how to do all of these things and create massive repairs quickly because it's electrical. It's an electrical system. This is all under an electrical process. But when you can learn how to do that, and it's really simple, it doesn't have to be, it's not rocket science. It doesn't have to be fancy or complicated. It can just use your intervention. Use your intervention. Use your intervention. All day long, use your intervention. Pretty soon, you start to build some skill, right? And so that's really that is this is the piece that when I help people move their disorders into remission, right? And what it could, in looking at this, it takes about 120 to 300 hours of specific and targeted brain work. And because I have people doing this work quickly, that comes down to 2 to 6 months. Because in 2 months, if we're doing 2 hours a day, that's 112 hours of specific and targeted brain work, most of which is directed at regulating the nervous system. And that's work people do themselves while working with me. I train them to do that. I evaluate their work. I give them tips. I boost their skills. And they build their confidence and they grow. And next thing you know, they're telling me how to do it, how to do their nervous system. Is great. I love it because it's yours. That's the other thing a therapist can't do for you is master your nervous system. They can't help you. They can't do that. That's for you. It's your place, your throne. You're the governor of this. And it's a wild, powerful system that can drag you around an entire lifetime if you do not learn how to work with it, how to dance with it, how to influence it, and how to help it to do its healing functions. So this is powerful. It's so powerful. It's so awesome. And if you don't if you don't do any of these things, you're healing because your brain knows how to do these things. Whether you know how to do them or not, your brain knows how to do these. But this is where it just doesn't, it cannot. And so you can step in here. You know, your parents may not have the skills to do this and hook you up with a phenomenal functioning and adaptive nervous system, right? Your nervous system may be full of trauma right now. Let's clear that out, right? You can do that for yourself now. Nervous systems are not waiting around for parents. And I'm not saying that insultingly. I'm saying that for empowerment, that what's great, and this is important to human survival because parents pass away, right? And if they were holding our closure and our brain function and our healing, that would be really bad for us. And it's not. Brains do this itself. And you may not believe me now, and I get that. I mean, I'm not new to this block. I've had this conversation many times, and I don't even get into it with people because I'm just like, let their brain show them because it does every time. And so, but I'm telling you so you can deal with that and wrestle with that now if you'd like to. Um, um, and I've done plenty of time chasing parents around for apologies and understanding and validation and affirmation, and have not been satisfied with the results, right? And I think I'll do a video on that. There's a reason for that, and it doesn't work, okay? But regulating your nervous system, working with your nervous system works powerfully. It's liberating. It's hugely transformational. And it's one of the simplest things you can do. It's one of the easiest pieces that you can do in your wellness and to resolve your disorder quickly. Now, what I will tell you, this is one piece of my process of moving anxiety, depression, and trauma disorders into remission in 2 to 6 months. Right? I also I teach people to do this, and then I teach them how to do these pieces, and we do this work. This is very specific. This is really advanced strategies right here, where we can really intervene and dive deep into very specific root issues. And I teach people how to come from a dysregulated place, how to take all this information and find a thread that will take them to the root and uncover the root issues, and then help their brain resolve it, move that root issue through the brain's healing process, so that the front of the brain can take it and shoot it through the rest of this and create function for you, to create wellness for you, right? That function in the place where you can't clean your kitchen, right? That's a function issue. You can't. Your brain has stopped you. There's nobody in there that says no, you can't clean. Nobody's doing that, but your brain has said you cannot. Your function is impaired by your own brain, right? We can create better function in there. Your brain knows how to do this. When instead of yelling at your kids, that's a brain function issue. People don't choose that. That's a brain function. They're functioning at a lower in a survival state, not in a not in a supportive place, right? Shrinking back from conflict, um, stage fright. You're a performer and you can't function in your thing because all of a sudden you're afraid. Not being able to drive your car because of panic attacks. That's nervous system dysregulation, right? And that's function. Function is impaired by your brain. Things you want to be able to do, but you can't, you're impaired. Things you could be doing better, you're like, I could do this better. And you're not. Your function is impaired by your brain. Your brain can create function in there. It can open the doors and let you through. But we don't want to bust through and force our way through. We want the survival system and the whole brain to come together to make a way for us to do that, to create a new way of being, a new way of functioning. And brains do that. And we can empower our brain to do that. And so in my system, this is the foundation of what we do. And then I teach these strategies, how to find root issues, how to get your brain to heal them, and then also how to fill in the functional gaps. Find specific areas where your symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress are blocking you. Some of this might be in love. Some of this might be in dating. Some of this might be in your finances. It might be in your housekeeping. It might be with your goal setting. It might be with your timekeeping. We go and we find where your brain is not optimized and not functioning the way that is brains are supposed to be. I mean, your brain's whole job is to help you rock your life and show up as the hero of your life. When those things aren't happening, then there's a brain function issue, and it has something to do with one of these guys. But when we bring all of this stuff together, this is something you can do yourself. And these are also pieces you can do yourself. You can learn this whole dance. And that's my process. Is I teach people this, and I teach people to apply this, and I teach people to really find the details that make the biggest transformations as quickly as possible. Um, and so if you only learn this skill, which is there's lots of information about that. Um, this is something that if you stay on, this will probably have you resolving your anxiety disorder, this level of skill, in probably a year or two. But let me tell you, it'd be an awesome year or two. I'm not hating on it, because your nervous system is getting better and better and better and better and better and more flexible and more functional, and you'll be able to spend more time being under your executive functioning, the part of the brain that can help you thrive. It's really, really powerful. Okay. If you learn the whole thing and you put it together in the way that I describe, this is something that you can resolve in a very short amount of time, 2 to 6 months. So I want to give you an understanding of how quick this is when we do it the right way. We can't leave any of these pieces out. And sometimes these really do get left out. Because this is something that, right here is really where therapists mostly work. And it works here by working here. right? So we do this stuff and we're doing this. So we are creative as therapists. We will spend time here. We're working on this. This is our goal with you just as much as it's your goal. But we can't follow your nervous system around, and it's firing off in every moment of your life. We can't do that for you. But you could, and you can do it very, very easily. And once you learn some strategies that work with your brain, you can start implementing them right away. And you can see, you can watch this, your brain transform your life and get these disorders out of the way. So I hope this encourages you and inspires you to grab some skills here, grab some training, and also just kind of see how the whole thing comes together and why it can be great for you to get some specialized support. Get this. You can learn this stuff. I teach this stuff to people all the time. You can learn this. You can learn how to create um, this right here, right? Function. And you can learn how to see yourself in each now and hear how am I doing? And keep yourself well. And um, this is something that and I really want to talk about this is really when you have a disorder, this really is the place. There are some people, especially in watching now, perhaps that have been working on this level for a while, and they still have a disorder in their life, and that is because it's time for this and this. Okay. And this is finer detail work. This is where you're looking for needles in the haystack, right? You're looking for where is that one problem in here, and you can find it, and there's so many strategies for that, and that's when you want to really build a higher skill set. That's when you want more skill and training. And then how to take a whole functional problem like I want to parent with more calm and patient, or I want to find the pause before I react. That's this. You can learn how to do that. There are brilliant strategies that can get your brain to create function in there, to take out the distress and put in the function, the skill, the creativity quickly in an hour, 2 hours. 3, let's go 3. Let's be generous, right? And say 3. And the next thing you know, you're done with that. But you can't get to that level of work with this in disarray. This right here is one of the biggest things that makes the anxiety, depression, trauma disorder last the longest. This is why I'm always encouraging my clients and anybody to make sure they're getting their 2 hours a day in. There's no substitute for this work. As a matter of fact, if this work doesn't get done, you can't do a lot of this work and you can't do a lot of this work. This is such a big part of the process. And it's something you can do yourself. You can do it powerfully. And you'll feel like you are in the driver's seat and you have the reins to create a massive, massive change in your life. So these are things that I cover in my 8-week intensive coaching program. You can find information about that on my website. I teach every one of these layers of work in the order that you should do them, and really walk beside you all the way to really doing the work well and building your skill and really fine tuning your awareness and your leadership of yourself, helping you make sure that you have success and you get your goal. And that's it. That's an 8-week intensive. I've made that. It's a time investment. I spend 2 hours eat 2 hours twice a day. No, let me say that differently. I spend 2 hours twice a week for 8 weeks with you, and in between sessions, you have access to me by email, and you're doing your 2 hours of work between sessions, and we're just creating transformation after transformation after transformation. Okay. And so hugely powerful opportunity. Gosh, it's been wonderful. Um, and so you can learn about that if you're interested. I also made that curriculum available for those people who are do it themselves or who um, just who are already working with a therapist that's really supportive, but their therapist doesn't do this work, and they don't want any more support. They just want, just give me the work, I'll do it. That's what I was like. And so I really wanted to make that available. Plus, I asked somebody who is taking that took that program, and I was like, "Why'd you choose that one? If you don't mind my asking." I don't know this person, right? I know them, but I don't know them. But they had been emailing me updates and how great they were doing, and oh gosh, fabulous wordy. They were just expressing. I'm just like, "You're doing it. This is great." I don't know this person, right? But I finally asked them, and they were like, "I didn't know how much of how um, what a crap show my inner world healing would be, and I didn't want anyone to watch it." And I was like, "Homegirl, I get you." That's exactly why I wanted to make this available as a self-study option, because you can follow the you can follow the path yourself. You can do your healing work yourself, and I teach you how to do it safely, and you can rock. And I was the same way. I would never have gone to a therapist. I love all of you that have been to therapists. I am a therapist. It blows my mind when people come in because I was so fragile. I could never have had somebody watching me or seeing my inner world. I can now because I did a lot of cleaning up in there and healing and vulnerability issues. Uh, but the deal is that we all need strategies for where we are now. We don't want to have to wait till we're perfect before we can start healing. That's like waiting for, if you need heart surgery, waiting for your heart to heal before you have surgery. Hello, if you have an illness, we want to meet it right where your illness is. If you can't get out of bed because your anxiety, depression, or trauma disorder is hammering you there, you need interventions that will work right there in your bed. And that's what these do. They work with you wherever you're at, as long as you can bring your hands up, and we can do this. Okay. If you can't, I got other tricks up my sleeve. Yes, I do. Because I've been around the block, and that's the fun thing, is that as you see your brain, there's always a solution. There's always a way into the brain to really create massive change. Sometimes you just need to find that door and open it and walk in. So if that's something you want my help with, I've laid everything out: pricing, timing, not timing actually. Interesting. I should figure that out. But links, anything you're looking for to that you want to know about what working with me like this would look like. It's on my website. I also just developed another plan, another program that's for people who have already done this work. They've also done a lot of this work, but they're having some challenges right in here. And so that is something that's not on my website yet. It's for people who no longer have a disorder, but are noticing that the who they are in a specific area of problem needs to be overhauled. And they've done so much work that they really are at the point of they need skillful expert, um, being able to, somebody who can help them look through the nooks and crannies and find the needle in the haystack, which is my fun place. And so I've really made a program available for that too. You should see that coming out. But this is really what I wanted to share. And I wanted you to walk away feeling empowered, feeling like you know what to talk to your therapist about, what to talk to yourself. I want you to start hearing yourself. I want you to see if you can hear your nervous system. I hear it. I tell all these stories. My subconscious mind plays with things, but when people are talking, I can hear it, and I want you to see if you can hear it. Some people can feel it, right? Some people are tactile and they can feel it. Some people are they're more imaginative, and so their subconscious will tell them stories about it, right? They'll show them images. Um, See if you can tune in to your nervous system, see what it's doing. That's a really powerful place, and then you can get your interventions on top of that. And in my Facebook group, Releasing the Baggage of Anxiety, Depression, and Traumatic Stress, I have some videos where I'm teaching these interventions for free. You can pick them up and you can try it. You can get started on working on this if you want to. Experiment, see how it goes. Take full responsibility of your wellness while you do that. I turned my AC on, but it must have gone off. But And but you can join that and watch and try some interventions out. Or if you're somebody who's just like, no, I want support, I want this support, go get started. Go on my website, check it out, and I'll answer any questions you have. If you want to post them on this video, send me an email, send me a DM. Let's talk about it. Let's get you where you need to be on your wellness journey. Okay. And that's it from me. Wonderful connecting. And well, let me see if there's any comments. I don't see any. Okay. And I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.